I'm Gorilla Monsoon.
And I'm thankful that I'm not.
Oh, you just can't help yourself, can you, huh?
I don't help anyone.
Huh.
Unless they've got the cash.
Yeah, I'm going to help you out the door if you don't stop.
If you can fit
anyway,
through
folks,
it.
I'm going to knock you out.
Excuse me, but, is anyone going to introduce me, bro?
All right. And this is Vince Russo.
I thought it was the mailman.
Huh. Why don't you be serious?
Smells like one.
Oh, what the frig, bro?
All right, enough. Folks, coming up in just a short is a podcast hosted by two guys you've never heard of and probably never will.
Monsoon knows a guy who knows a guy, if you know what I'm saying.
I get it.
Oh, will you stop? Folks, Chris and George or something, they do the Hot Tag podcast, and here it is.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Hot Tag Wrestling Show, the very first one of 2025. George, by the way, hello, George Rogers. As always, I don't have to keep introducing him. You can see him, and he's always going to be here. George, isn't it wild that the year 2000 is now a quarter of a century ago?
Can you shut the fuck up for 5 minutes?
I was talking. We were on our way home on New Year's Eve from family down in Maryland, and on the way home we were listening to I think it's a Pop Rocks on Sirius XM, and it said 2000. It was a song from 2000. I think it was "Come On Over" from Christina Aguilera, a nice little bopper.
Yeah.
And I said, my love, do you know that we are 5 years away from the year 2000 being eligible to be played on oldies radio stations? And she said, what? I said, yeah, the standard for an oldies radio station is 30 years. So in 5 years, George, the year 2000 will be considered oldies on radio.
Oldies 98 already jumped the gun like a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Because I heard on Oldies 98 the Mary J. Blige song, Family Affair.
Oh, wow.
That song came out in 1999 or 2000. So they already jumped the gun on what they consider oldies. But it's one of those things that Dean sent, I don't know if he sent it to me or he sent it to us. It was the video for Jennifer Lopez's Waiting for Tonight.
Yeah. He sent it to us.
And that video basically takes place New Year's Eve, 1999, because it rolls over to 2000. And it's I'm looking at that. It's amazing that is 25 years old.
Dude, we're 5 years away from 1980 being half a century ago. This, and it's it's crazy because I look at it this way. We would not think so much about nostalgia if it weren't for social media. Yeah. Our parents in 1990 weren't thinking about 1975, being
maybe yours
15.
Were.
Well, right. But, social media has just brought such a light, like that meme that you and I have probably seen from wrestling 100 times where we think the Mega Powers was 20 years ago or 25 years ago when no, Austin in 1998 is 25 years ago. So it's time. It gets wrapped in this weird capsule in millennials' mind. And I think it's because, social media reminds us all the time, just when PlayStation is celebrating 30 years, 30. I don't look at 30 years ago as being when the first PlayStation came out and I had it. I'm like, oh my God, but it's been 30 years.
It's insane. I mean, in 2 months, I'm going to be 40. So, yeah.
And you don't look a day over 39.
Yeah. Thank you. What a gentleman you are.
What a guy. What
a friend. Thanks, billionaire Ted. It's insane. And because of social media, we get to relive the nostalgia. It kind of helps our generation as we're getting older and we're staring down the barrel of middle age, burnout. Yeah. Uh-huh. And we can look back on these reels and these old commercials and just kind of get that feeling of how we were as kids and seeing things. I was talking to a friend of mine that I went to high school with, Jenna, and we were talking about just how wild it was, New Year's Eve 1999, because we all thought the world was going to fucking end. You know,
Will Smith
not-
just dropped
yeah.
a banger of Will 2K and the Willennium.
I didn't like Millennium. I'm
I
gonna be
didn't
honest
either.
with you.
I liked Will 2K, the song.
Yeah, I mean it was good, but like I did not like the album Millennium because I thought his first one, I forgot what it was called. I want to say Make It Big, but I know that's wrong because that's Wham. But
Samsonite.
Exactly. But the album that had like Miami and like
Getting Jiggy with it.
Like that album was a fucking dynamite banger. That was great.
Yeah, every song on that record.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know, as much as we live in the past and we live for nostalgia, and that's exactly what this channel
Big
is.
Willie
We
style.
live, we Big Willie style. That's it.
Yeah.
I should have known that. Like shame on me.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, that's what this is we're just in this style. We're in a wrestling nostalgia channel. I mean, just like over on Multiverse, you know, we rarely do new movies unless it's something that we really want to see. I mean, we do stuff like within the last 15 years if it's something that we really want to do. Yeah. But majority of the stuff that we've done have all been 80s and 90s movies.
Yeah.
So, I mean, but we're looking towards, I guess, the future now, but.
Yeah, I mean, my wife and I, we talk about it all the time. I think what's so great about this nostalgia thing that we're in from a millennial standpoint is it really does actually help like jog our memories of things that we experienced as kids. Because, you know, like, again, I'll revert it back to like our parents or our aunts and uncles. You know, once maybe they forgot about certain things when they were 10, 11, 12, it's hard to see something to help them remember everything that they did back in their teenage years, where you and I and Dean and all the people that we surround ourselves with, all you got to do is follow a 90s account on Instagram and you can almost literally take yourself back to when you were 10, 11, 12 years old, when you had this or that, or you went to this place, or the mall looked a certain way when you were younger. And it's just so cool to look back at that. But also the fact that, like you said, we're looking down the barrel of, you know, being considered over the hill. And my God, the year 2000 now is 25 years ago. It's just insane to compartmentalize all of that.
Yeah. I was talking to another one of my friends. It was the same friend that went to high school at Jenna. And we talked about how like this kind of immersing ourselves in nostalgia. This is our midlife crisis.
It's our way of coping.
You know, like our parents or like the generation before us, or like the Gen X, you know, like they hit middle age and, you know, like for their midlife crisis, you know, they go out and they buy a Corvette or like they dye their hair. You know, a lot of us, or at least a lot of the people that I know that I talk to who are going gray, with the exception of a few women that I know, embrace the fact that they're going gray.
Yeah, I love it.
Like I got gray in my beard. I don't have any on my hair yet, but I get a lot of it that shows up my beard, which I'm not gonna lie, every now and then does kind of freak me out because you know I didn't see it, but you know a lot of people are just kind of embracing the gray. Yeah. So like, there's no need for us to go out and like dye our hair. I mean, you know, I'm on fucking dating sites, so it doesn't matter to me. But you know, because that's the look that's in for at least like my demographic.
You're a silver fox, my man.
I wish if I could be like a silver fox like Clooney. Oh my God! I mean, that's the gold standard of silver foxes. Or Steve Martin, who's been a silver fox since he was 18.
Yeah, if I could look like, you know, Arn Anderson when he was 12, because he looked the same when he did back then. I hope I age like Arn Anderson, where like I just look like this until I'm 70. Like that would be wonderful.
Yeah, except he loses more hair as the years go on.
I know. All right, so let's get into 1996, ladies and gentlemen. This is the most pivotal year in wrestling history coming up here, where I think 97 is the best year in wrestling history of everything that happened in that year. And like all the transitions and you know, WWF really putting themselves in a position to become the Attitude Era. But, you know, you see a lot of what we deem the Attitude Era from 98 to like 2002. We see a lot of it happening in 97. Yeah. But 96 is where the foundations are going to get laid here. And
later on in the year for WWF.
for sure. Right.
The WCW will hit their stride
in 5 months.
In May. So
May, right. But I also want to give everybody kind of an update. As we all know, since if you're watching this, you follow wrestling, WWE is officially, from a Raw perspective, is officially on Netflix. So herein lies a problem for George and I. It looks like, from everything that I've read yesterday, and even I did a little bit of reading again on it today, just to make sure, we're going to try our best to piece together watching a Monday Night Raw from 1996 for a little bit now, because it looks like the transfer from Peacock to Netflix wasn't a 100% complete one. So as of right now, I think George said it, there's 16 episodes of 1996 Monday Night Raw on Netflix right now, but they're all scattered. I mean, there's a January 8th, which is next week, so we get to watch that. We're lucky there. Then I think the next one is April.
Yeah.
So
it's the day after WrestleMania.
Right. So again, everything else other than Monday Night Raw content is still on Peacock, so we're good with WCW. We have no issues with that. Raw is going to be a tough one. So George and I, unless they over the next few weeks get everything onto to Netflix, we're going to be scouring YouTube, looking to piece together these Monday Night Raws. I'm going to do as much reading as I can to jog my memory, because I have watched all of these shows already. As I've said, I'm already, before the Netflix takeover, I was already watching Nitros and Raws into late 97. So I like to, right before we do these, I like to go back and just really quick run through Raw. Can't do that right now. And it's a struggle, but look, we are going to do whatever we can to get through week by week here. So don't worry about it. It's our problem to deal with it. When the show comes on every week, it'll look like we had no problem at all. But just know we're going through the same problems as you are when it comes to Netflix, because we're all in the same boat. We have to wait for every Raw to get over to Netflix. I don't understand what the holdup is. I look all around the internet. I scour it. Even the world's best liar, Dave Meltzer, doesn't have an answer for it.
Yeah, because no one gave him a scoop on it.
Yeah, no one either wanted to tell him the truth or didn't even give him the chance to lie to him. But
I'm not surprised if somebody would tell him, "Hey, they're going to start the network back up in the US."
That's
and
right.
He would have just run with that.
He would have. So yeah, that's where we are right now.
But we got. I mean, we got to. We got it's a real culture shift going into. Not really a culture shift, but I mean, this episode of Raw that's going to air on Monday on January 6th is poised to be just like a game changer episode.
Yeah,
it's gonna be or as I was calling it, a landmark episode.
Very much a landmark episode.
We're getting Rollins Punk for the first time since Punk has been back, and this is a match that everybody's been clamoring for. And Chris, I don't know if you saw the promo that they cut last.
I did.
Week.
Yep.
That was gorgeous.
It was.
They could have done nothing else. That promo alone would get me into wanting to watch the match.
I agree. Absolutely agree.
We'll get Roman and Solo one-on-one for like a tribal combat. I don't know what it is. I assume it's no disqualification. Whatever, doesn't matter. But either way, that's a match that people want to see.
Yeah.
John Cena's going to show up. He's going to kick off his retirement tour, which is what everyone's fucking clamoring for that.
That's what I want to see.
We got Rhea and Liv in a last woman standing match. You can't tell me that ain't gonna be good. We'll get the finals of the Women's Intercontinental title match for that tournament, which has Lyra Valkyria against Dakota Kai. That's going to be a good match.
Yep.
This is all good stuff. And even over on the other side, they're on Max now.
Yeah.
But they're also simulcasting. They're still on TBS or TNT or whatever, but they're simulcasting on Max.
Yeah.
Which I heard when they watch it live, it's fine. But apparently a lot of people were saying the replays have been in Spanish.
Interesting.
So, I mean, it's just another laughable thing with what's going on over there. But I also know how Max is as a streaming service, and it's one of the fucking worst. So it doesn't even shock me that they're having problems because we know who's in charge of Max, and they're not exactly. That's not a company I'd be running to for advice on starting a streaming service.
I agree, totally agree.
Because when they first launched Max was HBO Max. It was extremely easy to navigate.
It was great,
very very user friendly. Now it's a clusterfuck.
Yeah.
And now people who were like, oh, like Peacock's a minor streaming service. Bullshit. Peacock is extremely easy to use.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
we'll say though, I just saw that New Year's Eve, December 31st, New Year's Eve's edition of NXT did really well. 630,000 viewers.
Really? On New Year's Eve?
Yeah.
I expected that to be low. I'll be honest with you.
Mm-hmm. Raw did a 1.6, which was up good. Very, very good.
The Monday night game really wasn't good.
Oh, no, it was terrible. Terrible. Again, the other company didn't do well. Last Friday night, Rampage 273,000. Doesn't really matter. I mean, they're as dead as Kelsey's nuts right now. Like it's sad, and it's sad when you see guys like Mr. Cope. That's his new name now. I was talking about it.
Fitting for that company because that's basically what that entire fan base is doing at this point.
Yeah, I mean it is really hard when you see great legends like Christian or Edge or even a Jericho, even though I think his legacy is already ruined. I think he's a very forgotten legend, and that it's his own doing.
It's their own doing. Did they think they were going to go over there and set the world on fire?
Yeah, I mean, I feel bad for a guy like Edge. He's only got probably like another couple years left, and I know I'm not Edge, so I don't know what his needs or his wants are.
He could have retired.
He could have. He could have also stayed in WWE, where even if it's not a main event level, which you shouldn't be anyway, you could still be having mid-card level matches with guys like even like a Gunter or a Braun Breaker or a Damian Priest, or you could still be doing programs with the Seth Rollinses of the world, and even CM Punk.
And he would have been a guy to help get those younger guys over, like Gunther and Braun Breaker. Like Edge is a guy, even if whether Edge wins the match or loses the match, just being in the program alone will elevate you because people are going to talk about the program. Yeah.
So, and I don't, I'm sure if you sit down right now and have a nice Molson with Edge in his home in Canada, I would assume he would probably say he wishes he was staying. And what WWE is doing now, I mean, they don't have house shows again until March. Mm-hmm. So, like the schedule, the way they're protecting their guys now, not, cutting them or stabbing them with scissors and doing all this stupid stuff that the most irrelevant wrestler on earth, Ricochet, thinks that he's doing is great.
Hey, they threw toilet paper at him last week, so.
Yeah, he's the biggest simp in the industry. 2, he's just awful. Anything that he does is awful.
He went from being a guy I kind of respected because I do like his work, but then I see him over in there. It's just like, dude, like there's a reason why they never put a microphone in your hand.
Yeah, and you see him whining on X nonstop
all the time. It's like, dude, stay off of social media and stop listening to the gargoyles on social media.
Exactly.
I mean, that's advice for everybody.
It is,
including us.
That's right. So yeah, that's just my 2 cents. Wrestling is on such a massive high right now on one side of the picture, which is what it was for decades, and it's still that way now. WWE is definitely monopolizing the industry in terms of eyeballs. And from a global perspective, from a national perspective, WWE is they're the NFL, they're the behemoth. And they've earned it because they're pumping out incredible content. Their rosters, for the most part, are signed. They're healthy. It looks like Penta is going to debut on Raw with Rey Mysterio. That's going to be awesome. I'm a big Penta guy. I'm so happy that he's out of that cesspool. I really want Ricky Starks to get out of there.
Phoenix will be over once
Yeah.
He is released from his contract. They added time onto him because he was injured, but they're not going to use him. So, I mean, you're basically paying a guy for nothing.
Yeah, I mean, they're
But
doing a lot
I mean,
of that.
and I've said this about both companies because both companies would do it. It's like when you do that, if you're just going to pay somebody and not going to use them, you're not getting a return on your investment.
Exactly.
You're losing money.
Yeah.
At least put him out there because even if it's going to be a shit program, there are fans of these people who will pay and they want to see and they'll buy his merchandise. If he's not going to be out there, people are going to forget about him. They're not going to care. Rusev.
Right. I agree. All right. So let's get into this. We are going to start with WCW Nitro because while we were on our break, Starrcade occurred.
Yes, it did.
So
extremely forgettable Starrcade, but Starrcade nonetheless.
Yes, during the Starrcade, Ric Flair regained the WCW World Title for a 12th time. Obviously, Randy Savage, none too happy about that. But nonetheless, we are live from Atlanta, Georgia, a hotbed, obviously, for the WCW.
They're at the Omni, aren't they?
Damn right they are. And
I was baby. Yeah.
I was at the Omni this past week. Not in Atlanta.
Yeah, not the Atlanta Omni.
but I was definitely at an Omni, and all I kept doing was thinking,
you were at the Sportatorium trying to waiting for the Freebirds and the and the Von Erichs to show up.
It was crazy. I'm sitting here at the Omni in Texas, and I go down to the bar, and I'm like, God, why is Ric Flair not here and bleeding everywhere?
Yeah,
and I was like, oh, there's a lot of regular non-drunk wackos here. This is not a WCW bar.
That's weird. Some guy looks like Dusty Rhodes at the end of the bar just screaming about being the son of a plumber.
Oh, man. Oh, shit. Look, there's Sid stabbing Arn Anderson with scissors.
What happens.
It happens. So let's get into this. Your hosts, obviously, your commentators, Eric Bischoff, Bobby the Brain Heenan, and Steve Mongo McMichael. We start this show off hot, man. Arn Anderson versus Macho Man Randy Savage. Can I just say, like, even in this era, I'm a sucker for Arn Anderson matches. The dude, like, the second he walks down that aisle, like, he does make it feel like it's real. And, like, his work, dude, was so good. And I really enjoyed these two in this match here. During this match, Eric Bischoff notes that there's stupid things going on over on Raw. But the smoking guns, won and no one cares. The Raw Bowl, these.
Mongo called it the Toilet Bowl and then also called them the Kitten League, which I don't even know what that means. But hey, Mongo's on commentary, so nothing he says is going to make fucking sense.
That is correct. Yeah, so back into the match, Arn takes down Macho with an arm breaker, goes to work on the giant bandaged arm, which is a legit injury that Randy Savage has been working with for months now. But Heenan notes that Arn can break every bone in a chicken leg and never touch the skin. So that's a very specific skill set, I guess.
Well, he knows.
he does, yeah.
He's probably seen it.
Right. Savage comes back, snatches. Knocks out Arn Anderson with the brass knuckles, rolls him over for the pin. Gets about 8 minutes. The Horsemen are outraged. They protest, but Savage is obviously protected by rules, by circumstances. What did you think of this opening matchup?
It was a good. It was an acceptable opening match. I dug it.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, I'm gonna enjoy seeing Macho in the ring. So
me too. Yeah,
I'm gonna enjoy it all now while I can because he's only got a few more years left of being an active wrestler. So
I agree,
and not to mention the barely there work he was doing as part of the NWO, unless he was feuding with DDP.
Yeah. Next match though is my favorite of both shows of the entire week. Lord Steven Regal versus Chris Benoit. Dude, this was stiff. It was awesome storytelling. Regal was, in his wrestling prime here. He was just so good. Chris Benoit was always Chris Benoit. He was a mutant at this point. Dude, this was a strong style before strong style was cool in America. It just added such a great, a realism, battling for every move. It felt like the sucky part about this, man, is it was too damn short. It was under 6 minutes. Man, what did you think of this one?
I have a couple notes about this. I mean, we're against both shows. Yes, this is the best match against both shows, hands down, and it's not even close. And like number 2 isn't even close, which would be Savage and Arn.
Right.
But one Mongo on commentary, just mute his fucking mic, take his headset off, send him to the back,
bad.
Just have him like stand near the announce table and prevent people like Craig Pittman from coming up and asking for someone else to be his manager. This is a dumb storyline. Drop it now.
Yep.
Like it's shit. Nobody gives a shit about the Pitbull Greg Pittman. Nobody ever did. Facts are facts. He didn't blow up the world, so I ain't fucking talking about that. But Mongo, when he talks about, because Benoit is Canadian, Regal is from England, he then talks like, "Oh, this is like a succession from this is like Canada succeeding from England." Which, first off, that's not the word. The word is seceding. But what am I going to say about someone like Mongo, who literally his whole life was wearing a football helmet and getting hit in the head? No disrespect to Mongo, but I mean,
I gotta call a spade, man.
I mean, I know he's got ALS now, but it's extremely awful, and it's a fucking travesty that he got inducted into the Hall of Fame where he can't do anything.
I agree.
He's just laying in that damn bed. He can't do it. It's a pity, but hey, facts are fucking facts. Like, stop talking on commentary.
Yeah.
He's like, like they won't be under British rule anymore, and I'm like, wait a minute. So I had to go and look this up because I'm like, just knowing what I know of Canada, I'm like, well, like they're French. Didn't the French own them? It's like, well, they were owned by France and England, but England hadn't had any say in Canada since 1982. So 13 years prior, I'm glad you're up on your stats, like dummy. But I mean, I hear stuff like that and it pulls me out of the match because I'm like, oh, like this just dumb fucking words. Like, I know over on the other channel, Lawler ain't doing much better with his bad dad jokes, but Lawler will be better when he gets JR next to him. Mongo is not going to get better. Doesn't matter who the fuck you put next to him. But also the ending of this match really fucking irritated me. Because like Benoit goes for a suicide, dive, which it's not a suicide dive because he vaults himself over the top rope. So that's not what a suicide dive is.
Right.
And then like he hits the floor, or as they say, the concrete, when he clearly landed on the mat, like dead center. And then Regal rolls him back in the ring and pins him, and that's the match. That's how a Chris Benoit match ended. He missed a dive out of the ring, was rolled back in the ring and pinned.
Yeah, it's no wonder the dude had brain damage, man.
Like, but he didn't. It wasn't like he landed on his fucking head.
Right.
Like he landed like anybody else does who misses that move. But it's the bad booker. They're like, oh, just you'll get rolled back in the ring and then pinned. But knowing what I know of who the booker is at this point in time and what their history is, I really shouldn't be too shocked.
Correct.
And for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, you can Google the love triangle between Chris Benoit, Kevin Sullivan, and Nancy Benoit all you want, and you'll get all the steamy details.
Oh, it's something, all right.
And the tragic ending of it.
Yeah.
But I looked at, I'm like, this, like, Benoit deserved better than the ending of this match. It was just bad. And then, I mean, we get like some little afterbirth, which I'm sure you're going to get into next, with Pillman coming out and basically running down the Horseman. Then Arn comes out and he's like, how dare you say that? It's like, dude, and then even on commentary, they're like, oh, well, Pillman was, like Benoit knows about pile drivers because they put Orndorff, because that's how they took Orndorff out. Benoit wasn't part of that. It was Pillman, Arn, and Flair.
I know.
So it's like,
again, the right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing.
Yeah.
Brian Pillman, like you said, comes out. He punks out Benoit and Arn and Double A for losing. Pillman's wearing a badass duster right out of Undertaker's closet here tonight.
So good on him, though.
It did. Arn tries to make peace, and then the Dungeon storms the ring, which
because we need that already.
Because I just check out at that point. But the Giant just keeps them from attacking. It's very notable here that Brian Pillman pointing out that Benoit was always able to perform with the limo full of naked women. That was apparently part of his pretending to get fired persona that ended up getting him, fake fired for real. It's very confusing, but the fact that he just threw that line out there made me laugh.
I know, like Arn was giving Pillman shit for it's like you're causing trouble with the Dungeon of Doom and we don't need that. It's like you're the Horseman. You should be starting shit with everybody.
Yeah,
that's the Horseman I know.
Exactly.
You run that locker room.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, start shit with everybody. After you're done fucking with the Dungeon of Doom, go piss in fucking Colonel Robert Parker's hat and then make him wear it.
Right.
Go break Dusty's arm again. Like it's you own that locker room. Act like it.
Next match, Lex Luger and Sting versus the Super Assassins. The Assassins are Warlord and Barbarian under masks. Pity. In case you all were wondering.
Fucking pity.
Yeah. This match goes around 5 minutes and 50 seconds where Luger, after a hot tag, comes in and quickly finishes off Barbarian with the torture rack while Sting puts the Warlord into the Scorpion. It was a good visual for the finish, but who the hell watched this and thought, well, Warlord sucked, but we'll give Barbarian a job for the next 5 years.
And this wasn't a good match.
No.
By any fucking stretch.
No.
At one point, I think one of them, he doesn't tag in, but I think it's when Luger has Barbarian up in the torture rack. The other assassin, Warlord, gets into the ring, but forgets that he's not supposed to go all the way in, or Sting missed his mark, which is probably more likely what happened. Because he gets into the ring and then falls into the corner rather than break up the submission attempt.
Mm-hmm.
I had to rewind it and look at it. I'm like, what the hell is even going on? And I looked at it, it's like, he was supposed to be on his way in, and Sting was supposed to stop him and like kick the middle rope and drag him in. But it looked like Sting missed his mark, or he was late getting to his mark. So,
I think that's what the problem was. Yeah. I think Sting just missed his mark there.
Yeah, but but from a psychology standpoint of just looking at it, it's like, why didn't you just break that up? You had time, you got in the ring, and then just sat back in the corner and waited. Mm-hmm. Waited for Sting to get back on his mark, and then you just moved a little closer in between the ropes so Sting could kick the middle rope into your dick.
Exactly. All right, so let's get to the main event here. And before I even get into it, I'm just gonna throw it out there.
I was gonna say, are you gonna skip the thing that happens every single week on Nitro? You're just gonna skip right on fucking past that?
What did I miss?
We got a Jimmy Hart promo on
That's right, the Jimmy Hart promo. I forgot.
Every week we need our Jimmy Hart promo. By the way, happy 81st birthday to Jimmy Hart.
81st.
Does not look a minute of over fucking 50.
Yeah, he looks incredible.
I don't know what the fuck his secret is, but shit.
Yeah.
Somewhere there's a painting of Ric Flair aging in his house.
Right.
And Jimmy stays the same age.
Jimmy just stays the same. Yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody in this era had more TV time than Jimmy Hart. I mean, honestly. He was everywhere. But
at least he didn't come out and cut the promo with Luger for a change, but he did come out and cut the promo with the Giant.
Oh, he did. But let me just, again, as we get to the main event here, have I told you all lately, I can't stand Hulk Hogan in this era. No, and this is going to add.
You've never mentioned it.
This is just going to add more gasoline to this inferno. WCW World Title match right on free television. Mm-hmm. Ric Flair versus Hulk Hogan. And the dance just continues. Hogan overpowers Flair to start. Flair throws some chops. Hulk, of course, no-sells it. Flair pokes him in the eyes, goes up. Hulk, of course, slams him off the top rope, clotheslines him to the floor, with Flair going up for the move before Hulk was even in contact with him. You got to keep kayfabe, Rick. Come on. They foot on the floor and back in for the Flair flip on the side of the on the corner turnbuckle. He clips the knee to take over. Figure four in the middle of figure four in the middle as the supposedly pro Hogan crowd goes nuts for Flair. as he gets that figure four, which was kind of wild to see. But Hogan, of course, reverses it. This prompts Jimmy Hart to come out and distract Hulk, and Flair goes back to the knee again to follow and follows with a suplex. Nice suplex, by the way, by Flair there.
That suplex was the only fucking thing Hogan sold in this match, and
Yeah.
it looked awful. You want to talk about Shawn overselling at SummerSlam 2005?
Oh yeah.
What the fuck was that seizure that Hulk had after?
Oh, he was convulsing.
Yeah, it was almost like someone should run in the ring and like put their wallet in his mouth so he doesn't swallow his tongue.
Hulk is, like I said, he's convulsing here on a standard suplex.
Like that, he's gonna convulse on, but then he'll get whipped into the barrier outside and no sell the fuck out of that.
Exactly.
Like, oh, okay.
But Flair makes the mistake of going for the pin, and here we go. It's Hulk up time. The crowd is openly hostile to it, which is great. But the big boot and leg drop gets delivered anyway. This brings Arn Anderson in, but Hulk no sells the brass knuckles, and that's a DQ at just about 8 minutes.
There was no sell. Arn never hit him.
I know. I mean, I thought it looked like it was a no sell the way Hulk acted, but I guess he just didn't hit him. I think it was supposed to be a hit and it was supposed to be a no sell, but maybe the whole spot was blown.
You don't say. Did something not go according to plan?
Right.
Not with Hulk Hogan involved. He's a staunch professional, Chris.
Hulk threatens to beat up the entire four horsemen by himself, but thankfully Giant saves them from a vicious 1-on-4 beatdown by the Hulkster. I just can't stand Hulk, man. This was every Hogan Flair match you've ever seen in your life. I give it like a -1 star.
This is the thing, and I sent you this in a text, and I want our fans, and by fans I mean the 3 people who still listen to us, which is weird because we get the same amount of viewers over on Multiverse, where Heenan says, and this is Heenan. I expect this kind of nonsense coming out of Mongo's stupid mouth. I told you, this is what Heenan said when he was talking about Hogan versus Flair. This is quote for quote. Quote, this is history right here. Like, could Lombardi outcoach Rockney? Could Hank Aaron hit off Maddox? Which I had to go back and listen to because according to my captions, it said, could Hank Aaron out-hit Maddox? Which the answer to that would be yes, because Maddox is a pitcher. And then it said, could Magic play against Larry Bird? Magic did play against Larry Bird.
I laughed so.
It's like Magic did play against Larry Bird in the finals like 3 times. So shut the fuck up.
It was like the biggest rivalry in sports in the 80s.
And then like I told you when it talked about like how this is so historic, we literally just saw Hogan and Sting against Flair and Arn like 4 weeks prior.
I know.
And not to mention all of 1994 was Hogan versus Flair in this company. So it's like, what are you talking about history?
I know.
This is like when that other fucking dumper talks about dream matches that actually happened 15 years prior. Like, it's like I expect better from Heenan. I know you're trying to hype it up, but if you're going to mention like, could Magic play against Bird? Well, they did. Why don't you say, could Magic play against Bill Russell? Give me that. Or say, could Bill Russell play against Michael Jordan? Like, give me people who actually haven't played against each other from different eras. Don't give me 2 people who literally had the biggest sports rivalry of the 80s.
Oh, I know. He could have done a lot better than that. But the Mega Powers promise to destroy Flair and Giant next week while forcing in all sorts of pop culture references. Hogan threatens to take on the entire Horseman team and the Giant by himself if need be. But hey, look, it's all right. That's not until the next pay-per-view. We get there.
And with that booking, Hogan would win, so it's fine.
I will say this show, though, overall, man, and we'll get to Raw in a second, was a relief to, after the last few Raws that we've been sitting through. But I thought it was a very fun and exciting episode. That main event was just odd, but I thought the rest of Nitro was really good.
It was an extremely poorly booked main event because it was all like I'm trying to think like what Pritchard says when he calls it something where it's just like it's just overbooked, contrived shit. Because like aren't like you got Jimmy Hart coming down the ring who's going to cause a distraction, so Hulk doesn't go for the pin. Hulk's going to go for Arn, or Hulk's going to go for Jimmy Hart. Arn slides in the ring, and he's got the quote unquote brass knucks, which literally it's just a fucking plastic thing on his hand. You can see it. Brass knucks don't look white, because that's not what color brass is. And then like he goes to swing, he goes to swing with it, but Hogan blocks it, and then he knocks down Arn
Right.
with the fucking brass knucks, puts the knucks back in like Arn's tights just to take them back out and show the ref. And then Randy Anderson's like, oh, foreign object, and then calls DQ and awards Hogan the winner. It's like,
right.
but Arn never hit Hogan. That wouldn't be a DQ. That match would still be going on. It was a mess. I mean, that's a lot of WCW main events, unfortunately. I mean, it's only going to get worse from here in terms of things being overbooked. But like I'm watching it and I'm like, I have to give Nitro the win this week, but this main event sure as fuck didn't deserve it.
No. But overall, I thought it was a very, very strong episode of Monday Nitro. But we'll give our decision after we talk about what happened with the other company on Monday Night Raw, January 1st, 1996. Again, if you guys are looking for this show, you're not going to find it on Peacock, and you're not going to find it on Netflix. So
and you're not going to find it on YouTube either.
No.
You'll find pieces of it.
Yes, you're going to find pieces of it. Yes, it's the Raw Bowl, the stepdaddy of the Mac Daddy of them all.
Mm-hmm.
It's taped. It's a taped episode of Raw here from Newark, Delaware. Vince McMahon, Jerry the King Lawler are your commentators. So let's get this show on the road, shall we? The Raw Bowl, the Smoking Guns versus Savio Vega and Razor Ramon versus Sid and the 1-2-3 Kid versus Owen Hart and Yokozuna. I don't even know where to begin with this. I didn't think it was the worst thing I'd ever seen, but it was just like there was a point where there was a timeout in this whole thing. I'm like, what the hell's the point of a timeout?
Yeah.
It just becomes a wild scene of 21 minutes of a 1 hour show here. What did you think of this, toilet bowl, as Eric Bischoff said so eloquently on Monday Nitro? I thought it just had no heat. There was so much meandering, stupid rules and bad finishes. Especially for something, George, like I just said, took up half the freaking show.
No build.
Right.
They mentioned the Raw Bowl, but you could have at least mentioned the participants and let them had some sort of heat with each other going into it. I mean, I know Sid Sid's been feuding with everybody, but like the 1-2-3 Kid, I know he had beef with Razor Ramon, but like why was Razor Ramon teamed up with Savio Vega? Like, what's this team? We know why Sid and 1-2-3 Kid are together because of the $1 Million Corporation. Owen and Yokozuna are in Camp Cornette. Smoking Guns are tag team champions. Like, did you just put Razor Ramon and Savio Vega together because one's from Puerto Rico and the other's from kayfabe Cuba?
It was,
I mean, Miami, Florida, but he's portraying a Cuban. It was, if anything, it was just a 4-way elimination tag team match, which has been done better since. But I will say at least Smoking Guns got the win because it gives them a little more credibility as tag team champions. But that's the only real positive I can say about it.
What was unbearable to me is commentary. You have Lawler and Vince are unbearable during this, dude. They make the worst football jokes, non sequiturs. Oh, and Lawler spent the entire match hitting on a centerfold, who occasionally said, "This is wild," as her contribution to commentary. But dude, this
Earl
was so
Hebner
bad.
was dressed as an NFL ref and even had like the flag in his pocket to throw. It's like it was like, dude, what are you doing? Like it was like a precursor to the XFL.
Oh,
the first incarnation of the XFL.
It was, but like it didn't stop there. Like now it's time
going all fucking night.
I know. Now it's time for a halftime show with Doc Hendricks as he tries to throw it to Jumbo Jim Ross, who gets, and gets shot down, as Jim sounds like he wants zero part of this. But dude, it was just really bad, man. Like when is this going to end? When are these Raws are getting progressively worse?
Well, we know. I mean, just history. We know when it's going to get better. And we know that it doesn't end because it's still the longest running weekly episodic TV program, as they tell us every week.
Yes.
So we know it gets better, but we basically have to walk through hell to get to heaven.
Yeah, that's a good point. Good point. Speaking of stuff people wanted zero part of, let's take you back into to the In Your House 5. And specifically the Hog Pen match. So I guess we're just going to watch that whole match again. I bet the pay-per-view companies loved that back then. We have it. Hog Pen match, Hunter Hearst Helmsley versus Henry Godwin. Your special guest referee is Hillbilly Jim because, Vince McMahon loves his hillbillies.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, what the hell is this? This got 9 minutes.
Yeah. And it's a fucking replay of a pay-per-view match.
I just don't understand this. Like, why are we getting this? Somehow adding in like all the breaks made the match even worse. It was okay on pay-per-view, I thought, but breaking it up like this, it's just awful. It's just bad television. It's bad business.
How do you think the people in the arena felt?
Oh my God. But
how was nobody demanding their money back?
That's another thing. I mean, I'm assuming maybe some did. I will say this, like, again, in this era, why are people watching Raw when on the other channel you have the Four Horsemen, you have Macho Man Randy Savage, Hulk Hogan, Lex Luger, Sting? It's incredible that Raw is still even hanging on right now. And it's just crazy, man. And again, everyone knows that you and I are massive shills for WWE, but us now looking back 25 years later, we also have found, or 20, 25, 30 years later, have found like this love for WCW. And man, like WCW is just by default just killing this company every week.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, the love for WCW, a lot of it is really just kind of spite because we all know how much I don't like the other company. Because of all the constant comparisons. It's like you guys on your best day are not even close to what WCW was on their best day. I don't want to say worst day because I've seen their worst days and they're not good. But like, stop comparing yourself to WCW and just do your own thing. But at this point, as Nitro keeps going on, we're seeing the same shit. We're seeing Hogan coming out doing his fucking nonsense. We're getting Jimmy Hart promo every goddamn week on the ramp for no reason. But the show just feels better to watch.
I agree.
Like I'm getting matches. I'm not getting replays of matches that happened weeks ago.
Nope.
Like there's no way Vince thought this shit was a fucking good idea.
Oh, you're right. You have to believe.
There's no way he sat there putting it all together and just said, "Hey, let's throw a replay of a pay-per-view match in the middle of our show." There's no fucking way he literally sat there and said to himself, "This is a great idea, pal."
I guess he's just working with what he's got.
But I mean, you didn't need to have that stupid Raw Bowl thing that had to have two different teams. If you're going to do that, then just have one like big Survivor Series match. Have a 4-on-4 elimination if that's the shit you're going to do. That makes a hell of a lot more sense for a Raw Bowl if there's two teams instead of four teams. Four teams do not play at the same time in an NFL game.
Yeah, well, they get a commercial here. We give away another pay-per-view main event with Bret Hart versus British Bulldog, plus Jeff Jarrett versus Hakushi.
I'm already giving next week's Raw a fucking bad grade.
I know.
Because when I saw that, when they're like, "Oh, next week we'll see the match from in your house with Bulldog and Brett. It's like, why can't I just watch them do a rematch of that instead of watching the fucking match again? The rematch might be better.
Maybe. Diesel versus King Mabel. If for those of you who really want to dig into the weeds here, just look at King Mabel's entrance. You'll see poor Jeff Hardy, being a throne bearer here for Mabel, and he's like visibly wincing, trying to carry this lard down to the ring. I mean, no wonder the dude was addicted to painkillers for so long.
That's probably where it started.
He had to carry Mabel all the way down to the ring.
I mean, it's no worse than anybody who has to carry Mabel through a match.
Well, Jeff Hardy did all of that only for Diesel to attack Mabel, hit him with a big boot, and pin him in 10 seconds. So thank God for that.
8 seconds.
8 seconds.
But who's counting?
Who's counting? And then Mo gets destroyed. He gets power bombed. Also, Diesel's new thing to show how non-conformant he is. Everyone in the audience has to buy WWF branded Diesel black gloves to show their support for him, or else.
Yeah. Or else Diesel's going to steal a centerfold and walk to the back with her.
Exactly. Meanwhile, we get the Lombardi Trophy presentation, which turns out to be presented by Steve Lombardi,
it's the Steve Lombardi Trophy,
the Brooklyn Brawler. It's a bowling trophy with a cardboard cutout of Lombardi's face. Vince McMahon, the creative friggin' genius.
The same man who gave us Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, DX, and Triple H, and Mankind, did that and thought it was a good idea. I will say this about Mabel. We are very close to not seeing Mabel for like 2 years.
I know. It's getting there. We're almost there.
He's going to have like a match on Superstars, and then he's in the 96 Rumble where he's eliminated third, and that's the last we see of him.
That's it. Yep.
Until like a one-off match in 98 against Shamrock. And then he comes back at the 99 Royal Rumble where he gets abducted by the Ministry and becomes Viscera.
Yes. Now we get the introduction of Vader, which was, great.
This was honestly, this was big.
It was very big
because Vader. I mean, because we was talking about how like WCW was taking people from WWF. This is like the first instance of them taking a big name from WCW.
Mm-hmm.
It isn't
very
going to
much
end.
so.
Like, it's going to go on from there. I mean, same thing, both ways. It's going to be a lot of talent swapping over the next couple of years. We're going to see, but like, this was big because Vader was a huge name in WCW.
Massive. Mm-hmm.
So it's like, all right, let's see where this goes.
Yep.
We know where it goes.
And now we end Raw with this. We take you to Billionaire Ted's Wrestling War Room as Ted and his execs show Ted footage of WWF guys doing power bombs, which of course Huckster and Nacho Man want no part of. Little do they know, Macho Man was getting chokeslammed from 10 feet in the air every single week. Huckster, I get it, but Macho Man's taking mega bumps every week. But they could still pose, so that's important. As pointed out at the time, there's irony as well in that they make fun of WCW guys for doing the same stuff over and over again, but the supposed dynamic moves that WWF offers are all variations of the same basic power bomb. Yeah. See, like this kind of stuff was cheap, but it's cheap heat. It's harmless overall, and it wasn't until they really started getting really personal and nasty that these things went off a cliff.
To be fair in their aspect, like we look at it now, it's like it's cheesy and it's dumb, but the other company is giving away results and trash talking this company.
And I will say this is the first time
threw the title in the trash a couple weeks prior.
And this had to have been, I think Eric Bischoff has gone on. He said this many times. This is where he knew he was really starting to get the WWF and Vince, because Vince is selling and Vince never sold. And, Vince now is answering and responding to the competition directly with this. And this is very abnormal behavior for Vince McMahon of any era to do this. So, these ads would start to get worse. WCW would still be doing what they do by giving away results, but their shows get better and better. Anyway, this is perhaps one of the worst episodes of Raw ever. And I'm not being facetious when I say that, George. This might have been one of the worst Raws ever.
It was awful. It's terrible. I do like, though, during the Billionaire Ted's War Room sketch, when they asked Hulkster if he can do a dive off the top rope, and he goes, his feet don't leave the floor anymore.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, that's accurate.
and you wonder why guys like Scott Hall left. Like, Scott Hall is here jobbing in a mid-card gimmick match 4 months before WCW makes him a centerpiece in the biggest angle in pro wrestling history. Meanwhile, Vince is gifting the number one heel in the business and debuts him in a throwaway segment. But again, let's all tell me how genius Vince McMahon is, because, you can, you look at this point, again, you and I talk about this. You could have just watched Randy Savage versus Arn Anderson, Benoit versus Regal, Lex Luger and Sting versus Warlord Barbarian, Ric Flair and Hulk Hogan. Dude, how did WWF survive this?
It's funny. It's funny because the Billionaire Ted's War Room aired alongside a Hogan match.
Oh, that's funny. I didn't realize that.
So Hogan main evented both shows technically.
He still wins. That bastard still wins.
Son of a bitch.
Way before there was a piece of shit Bill Goldberg, there was a piece of shit Hulk Hogan. The ratings were basically dead even. Raw won by basically a rounding error of 2.6 or 2.5.
How?
I don't know.
How did this get a 2.6?
I don't understand it.
I want to see the ratings breakdown of this, because I want to know how many people turn this fucking shit off after the Raw Bowl.
That's a good question, actually. Your thoughts, man, on both shows, and your final thoughts on both shows, and in your opinion, what was a better show?
Nitro was the better show this week, hands down.
Yeah.
It's a victory, like an easy one too. Like,
yeah,
Raw, I don't know what the hell's going on, which is funny, because like these Raws are bad, but I remember the '96 Rumble, and I love the '96.
Me
Rumble.
too.
I think it's a really good pay-per-view, aside from a couple things. So it's like, well, at least I know that I got the '96 Rumble coming up, and that's going to be a good show to watch. But you got to give me some build.
Yeah.
Like, I know, like, they mentioned the Rumble participants, they mentioned Diesel and like the return of Tatanka, who's been out for a number. And they also mentioned Bam Bam Bigelow, which is hilarious because he's gone.
Yep.
He's going to go show up in ECW in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the one thing I realized as we were talking about Nitro and Raw at the end of last year, is that while we were so busy consuming Nitro and Raw and seeing what they were doing, the third brand, ECW, they were starting to gain steam, and they had, at their time, and Paul Heyman knew it when he had him, they had the man who was going to be the biggest fucking star in the company, in the business.
Yep.
Cutting promos against WCW.
It's crazy.
And it's hilarious, because it's like while all this is going on, Steve Austin is basically creating the Stone Cold gimmick in ECW.
Yep.
They wanted, I think they wanted to put Heyman wanted to put the title on him, and he said, no, I want to have to earn it. And then Heyman's like, well, you're not going to be here very long anyway, because he knew, he's like, dude, there's no way.
Yeah, there's no way you're staying here. Yeah.
And we'll find out exactly how long he stays there, because next week on Raw is the debut of the Ringmaster. The
Ringmaster, who becomes a kind of a popular figure in pro wrestling.
A little bit. I mean, he's a little rough around the edges. I mean, this is a guy that all he does really is just he wears cutoff jeans, like drinks beer. I mean, I don't even know how far you can get over with that. Black tights. Yeah. I mean, oh God, no charisma.
Man, none at all. I mean, we're going to find out how far his career will plummet soon.
Yeah. Man, this dude's about to drop off the face of the earth.
He is. He won't make any money in this business.
He ain't going to put butts in the seats.
He's definitely not going to put any butts in seats. All right. So we both agree, George and I both agree that Nitro, again, for what feels like the 6th or 7th week in a row here, are just dominating our viewership in terms of what we prefer to have watched. Obviously, the ratings are all almost identical every week right now, and that's going to stay that way for into the summer until the debut of the NWO. But so much is going to happen between now and then. We're still got to get to the 1996 Rumble. We still got to get to the boyhood dream coming true with Shawn Michaels becoming the world champion over Bret Hart. Then Bret Hart goes away for a while, which stems rumors or creates rumors of him possibly jumping as early as 96. Obviously doesn't happen, but the rumors were all ablaze back then.
It'll never happen. He's never going to leave.
No, he's never going to leave.
He's a lifer. He
signed
a 20-year contract. Where's he going to go?
You're damn right. There's so much we're going to be getting into in 1996. It's going to be a lot of fun. 1995 was just like a little mini hors d'oeuvre that's showing up at your table. And we're really getting to a lot of great stuff here in 96. And we're looking forward to it. If you guys are watching over on YouTube, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and of course, ring that bell for notifications on when we're going to be here streaming live, which is usually around the same time every week. We'll be back here next week. We got a big Monday Night War to cover. It is the debut of the Ringmaster, so we'll get into that. George, we're in January now. What's coming up on the multiverse?
Well, multiverse is, we were on hiatus for the holidays, as we tend to do, because the holidays get busy.
Yep.
There's a lot going on. So we really don't have the time to kind of just sit down and carve one of these out, especially since I'm carving one out with you.
Yeah.
As well. So it just kind of makes it a little difficult to go. But we're coming back next week. We got Iron Man 3 coming up.
Awesome.
Which is something we were going to record in December and release on Christmas, but it was we couldn't line it up, couldn't do it. And the week after that, we have The Goonies. Because that movie, Christopher, this year, 40 years. 40 years. Go back and just look at all the movies that came out in 1985 that are hitting 40-year milestones this year.
Yeah,
just off the top of my head.
I mean, I could think.
I'll give you The Goonies. I'll give you Back to the Future,
Clue.
Breakfast Club, Clue. These are movies. Yeah. These are movies that. I was born in 85, so I like the movies from that time, but these are movies that are all hitting 40 fucking years, like 40-year anniversaries.
I think Rambo, was that year. First Blood, First Blood 2.
First Blood was 85. A View to a Kill, the final Roger Moore James Bond movie, that was 1985.
Mm-hmm.
It's a banner year.
Weird Science, right? Was 85?
I love fucking Weird Science.
Weird Science is one of my favorites.
Weird Science was 86, but I think it is 85.
Yeah, I think Fletch also. Yes. Fletch was in 85.
Fletch was 85, yep.
Yeah. St. Elmo's Fire.
St. Elmo's Fire, underrated
Breakfast
gem.
Club. Oh, very underrated gem.
Very underrated.
I'm trying to think. 95. See, I remember 95. I think Teen Wolf was even 85.
Early 85, yeah, I think.
Yeah. That's awesome. What a year.
Just running off the highest grossing, like the top 10 highest grossing films in 85. For those of you who give a shit that are listening, I'll run these down for you real quick. At number 10, Spies Like Us, great buddy comedy. Dan Aykroyd, Chevy Chase, back when Chevy Chase still gave a shit. The Goonies, which we've already mentioned, that was number 9. Number 8, Witness, great Harrison Ford movie.
Very.
Jewel of the Nile was 7, which is the sequel to Romancing the Stone with Michael Douglas and Kathleen Turner.
Mm-hmm.
Cocoon, number 6.
Oh my God, Cocoon. Yeah. Always freaked me out growing up.
Cocoon's a wild fucking movie, but I love it. 5, Out of Africa, Meryl Streep jam. Mm-hmm. The Color Purple, which is of course a Spielberg movie, and that was a banger. Top 3. These are gems. Number 3, Rocky 4.
Holy cow, 85, Rocky 4. Oh, my God.
Number 2, First Blood Part 2, which you mentioned. And number 1, Back to the Future. So it's like those movies are just, they're great movies that all came out that are all hitting 40-year milestones.
Can you believe Back to the Future is turning 40?
it's not even that I can believe that it's hitting 40. I can't believe it's hitting 40. And the entire main cast is still
alive. I know.
Which is saying something because of how Michael J. Fox's Parkinson's has been going. You know, he just looks like he's getting worse as the days go on.
It's really sad to watch the demise.
Chris Lloyd's knocking on the door in 90 at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Like and they're together, and they're probably going to do something for 40 years this year.
Yeah, Christopher Lloyd. Oh my God. Yeah, he's just turned 86.
Yeah, so and he's still a working actor too.
He still works.
It ain't even like he's just old and he's like, oh, I'm not going to do anything. Like what? Like Gene Hackman when he retired. No, quietly, but
can I tell you a guilty pleasure of an 85 movie that I love?
Is it Clue?
I love Clue. Clue.
That's because that's not guilty pleasure. That's
just a great movie.
Yeah.
That's a chef's kiss movie right there.
Mm-hmm.
I loved Once Bitten.
Oh, you fucking kidding me, dude? I love Once Bitten.
I love Once Bitten. Like that, I knew about Jim Carrey way before Ace Ventura in the 90s because I loved Once Bitten. Mm-hmm. And I used to watch that movie all the time growing up when it was on before Ace Ventura and all that good stuff. I'm like, oh my God. Like I always tell people, you want to watch a fun movie with Jim Carrey, early Jim Carrey, Once Bitten.
Yeah. And this is also prior to him joining In Living Color.
Yes.
So he's only a few years from In Living Color, and this is what he is 9 years from Ace Ventura.
Oh God. He's 9 years from taking over the industry.
Yeah. He's 9 years from being the biggest motherfucker in Hollywood.
He was in 80. Yeah, I know. In 85, he would have been 23 years old on Once Bitten. Amazing. All right, George, thank you so very much. We're looking forward to the Multiverse Movie Podcast returning. God, I can't wait for you to cover the Goonies. That is so near and dear to my heart.
This is one I'm forcing into because when we looked at the schedule, we didn't have anything for the first 2 weeks of January.
Wow.
Like somehow we just kind of forgot it. So Dean's like, oh, we'll just roll Iron Man 3. And and then he told me to pick a movie and we'll just do it. So my initial pick was going to be The Money Pit.
That's one of my all-time favorite comedies.
But I mean, we are going to do that because there's no way we're not doing that. But then I thought about it and I'm like, we're hitting 40 years on the Goonies. I'm like, fuck it. We're going to do the Goonies. And Dean has not seen the Goonies in like 25 years because he doesn't and if he's even ever seen it at all at this point.
He doesn't like it?
He doesn't. He typically does not like movies that have kid leads because he finds them annoying. He finds them annoying.
He's a weird cat, man.
It's probably why he doesn't like The Sandlot.
Probably.
I don't like The Sandlot because I think it's overrated.
Yeah, I think so too.
Unfortunately, I didn't do that growing up. I didn't go and play stickball at the local field with everybody, so I don't really relate to it. So it didn't really mean too much to me as it does everybody else. But I think it's one of those movies everyone kind of leans on as this is a great movie. Then you go back and watch it and you're like, oh, this might not have been as good as I thought it was.
Yeah, but The Goonies, I think, is evergreen.
The Mighty Ducks one, I feel that way about because I loved the Mighty Ducks growing up.
Me
and
too.
then when I went back and watched the first movie as an adult, I'm like, this doesn't hit the same way.
It doesn't, no.
But D2 is still
D2 is great.
I still love D2 though.
Yeah, yep. All right, man. Thank you so very much. Thank you to everybody who tuned in as always and who will watch the show for the week. We'll be back here next week for January 8th of 1996 of the Monday Night Wars, Raw versus Nitro. Hope everybody has a great rest of their week and weekend. And Happy New Year, everybody. And thank you for joining us. And we'll catch you all down the road. Have a good one. Bye-bye.